All right, hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Weekend. My name is Matt Edmonds, and I am joined in the studio with two guys that I have known for many, many years, decades even, Nick Canazzi and Ben Young. Fellas, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. And then as always, we got our good friend Paul Heath. Paul,
hello.
Always a pleasure to see you. And Paul, you were on the soundboard at Central Vancouver.
I was.
This weekend.
I was. Mixing it up.
Yes. It means I got to make eye contact with you and give you like a, hey, what's up? Head nod from up front.
I'm in the back.
You're in the back of the room.
Holding it down.
All right. So, Ben and Nick, where were you guys this past weekend? What campus were you at?
I was at West Vancouver.
West Vancouver. Nick Canazzi?
I was at Battleground campus this morning.
Okay. So you and your family live in Battleground.
Well, close by.
Okay.
Vennersburg.
Okay. Yeah, that's just us. That's a suburb of a suburb.
Yeah, suburb of a suburb.
Yeah, this is going to get pretty crazy because I often refer to Vancouver as the suburb of Portland. But Battleground is kind of a suburb of Vancouver. Vennersburg would be a suburb of Battleground. So really, Ben, I mean, it feels like this inception moment of suburb of suburb of suburb of suburb, and yes,
time moves much differently.
Okay.
Do you think
within the fourth suburb?
Battlegroundians would take offense to you saying that it's a suburb of Vancouver?
Oh, perhaps. Oh, I apologize to all of our. Did you just call them Battlegroundians?
Yeah, and
Paul,
also Vancouverites?
I think you might owe Battleground residents an apology for calling them Battlegroundians.
Battlegroundites.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Battlegrounders.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good.
Okay, so this weekend, the topic at hand was what to say when your friend goes astray. And the reason why we invited both of you into the studio is because you two have been friends for a long, long time, and you have introduced this concept into your friendship to say, hey, how can we help one another stay centered on the Lord? And if any one of us starts to veer off the path that the Lord has in store for us, then we're going to use one another and encourage one another to come back to what the Lord has in store. So we're going to get to all that in a few minutes, and pumped to have you here in the studio. But first off, I'm turning my direction over to Paul Heath.
I got
Paul,
a question.
What do you got for us to kick things off?
Okay, we got depending on the circles you run in, maybe a question that's a little overdone, which is if you could only eat with one utensil for the rest of your life, would it be a fork or a spoon?
Ooh, a fork or a spoon?
It's not a new question per se. It's been going around.
It's been going around the podcast introduction circles these days.
Which I didn't want to do because I was like, well, the answer is so obviously fork. And then Matt said, no, it's spoon.
Yeah, and Nick was already shaking his head.
You
Ben's
guys are
got an
spoon
opinion.
people?
Okay. All
Wait,
right.
Ben, what are you?
Well, sporks don't count, right?
No, you can't do the spork.
Hey, does a spork exist anywhere except for Taco Bell?
I think there's school lunchrooms.
Okay, maybe. I just remember that was the first time I was introduced to the spork. Was back in the 90s. You guys remember the 90s Taco Bell? That was like the neon colors and the zigzag designs and just crazy like that. Yeah. I mean, truly capturing the 90s.
It was the peak.
And also introduced me to the spork. So if the spork exists outside of 1990 Taco Bell, then I wouldn't know where to find it.
I haven't seen one in a while.
Right. Okay, so no, spork is not, you cannot use that as an answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vancouver Mall Food Court, maybe find it there.
That's true. Probably find a spork there. Okay.
Back then, anyway.
All right, so Ben Young, tell us.
Spoon or fork.
And the question is, if you could only use one for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you could choose knife if you want, but I've never
Come
heard anybody make that argument.
No way. All right. Okay. What's it going to be? Tell us what it is.
The fork is so much easier to use for the majority of what I eat, but the problem would be soup. So,
see, but you can drink soup.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
so
the thing.
If you don't count the delivery device, then I'd say fork.
Ben,
me.
are you eating a lot of soup in your life?
Surprisingly, people have asked me why do you like soup? Well, I don't know. I just really like soup.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Well, I had a friend. I have a friend here on staff that I had recently said something. Soup came up, and I said, well, how about do you and your wife? Do you guys have soup for dinner? And he goes, I'm not a peasant.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, whoa, okay. I don't think soup is just for the peasants. No. Okay. I enjoy a good soup every now and again. Yeah. All right. Okay. So you're saying fork. However, the one caveat is soup is difficult with a fork.
I'd have to be able to drink my soup and not be judged.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. But you're still sticking with the fork.
Yeah.
All right.
I would say so.
All right. Nick Canazzi? Coming to you.
I go spoon. I love cereal, and I don't want to drink my cereal, so
cereal.
be spoon.
Right.
Yes.
See, the reason why I say fork, though, is you can always eat with the fork, and once you get down to the real liquid bits, you drink it. But you tell me how you eat spaghetti with a spoon, it's not happening.
Yep.
How to eat spaghetti with a spoon.
It
I
sounds
just
frustrating.
wouldn't eat
Yep.
spaghetti.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to choose what we eat, right?
Yeah, well, and
Yeah, you
also,
can choose, yeah.
if we've already reached the point in this conversation where we're willing just to pick the bowl of soup up and just,
Yeah, but you can't
Dump it
just
down the hatch.
dip your hand into a bowl of spaghetti.
nope,
you know?
but you bring the plate up next to your mouth and then just kind of, and once you get one or two noodles, then just you can slurp it up.
Yep.
There
That's
it is.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
thinking real outside the box. That was one question.
Wait, hold on.
We're not done?
No, I got to weigh in.
Okay,
Yeah.
please.
I got to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I wanna hear.
I am a spoon, to the day I die. And here's the thing. Even today, I voluntarily will use a spoon over a fork, over a traditional item that people would normally use a fork for. I'm like, no, because the fork is so narrow that I want to shovel. I need to shovel the food into my mouth. And so that's why I'm going to be spoon. If I had to choose spoon or fork.
My wife and I actually have this debate all the time. What is the proper one to eat mac and cheese with? A fork or a spoon?
That's where the spork comes in.
That is a prime spork
need
example right
both.
there.
Well, and do you like thick mac and cheese, or do you want it to be a little bit more runny at the
Yeah,
bottom?
because if it's runny, you got to go
Yep,
spoon.
yep,
And if you do the
yep.
thick, it's fork. And
But
it's
you just
official.
highlighted one of the foods, which is why I would always pick the spoon.
Oh, totally.
I would pick
That
the
makes
spoon over the
sense.
fork. Yeah. When I eat scrambled eggs, I eat a lot of scrambled eggs in my house. I will always go for the spoon over the fork because
That is
otherwise,
interesting.
you're just stabbing the scrambled eggs and you're just getting these little tiny miniature bites versus a spoon. Just scoop it up.
Yep.
Go for it. Big spoonful
But
of scrambled egg.
If you eat it with a fork, there's all that egg juice at the bottom. You can just
Egg
Avoid-
juice.
you can avoid.
Paul, you need
not
to learn
making
how to cook scrambled
scrambled egg
eggs.
Hey, I
You
like
use
a little
the
bit
fork.
runnier, so I'm with you.
you drink the mac and cheese juice at the bottom.
Oh no!
I don't think so.
Oh no!
You guys don't have all these juices with all
Oh
these things that you're
no!
Eat a lot of juicy foods, Paul.
Oh man. Okay. All right.
The other question,
Oh good. There's another one.
which came up in a debate with friends last night. What is the proper ratio of the Oreo stuffing? There's the
Oh,
regular
okay.
Oreo. There's the Oreo's Thins. There's the double stuff.
Right.
There's the mega stuff.
Yep.
What is the proper Oreo cookie?
Okay. And there's a lot of options out there, like you
Wow.
said, and we're not even diving into flavors. So
Yeah, no, not even-
we're not
not
even
even
doing
going
flavors,
into
but we're
flavors yet.
talking about the hard, crispy cookie compared to the soft, squishy filling, the frosting in the middle.
I would
Okay.
say that the double stuff's probably the most popular sold. I'm not saying that's my answer.
How
or
would you
anything.
know that?
I just think
Get at
it's
Paul.
kind of like the little
Paul.
extra. I'll Google it. It's kind of like it's not the most frosting. It's just a little extra, and people like
Oh.
a little extra.
Yeah, but the fact that you have no scientific
I'm just
backing
making
on
stuff
this.
up.
No, exactly. In my household, you know what we call that? We call that an old wives' tale.
That's
Yeah. Anytime someone throws a fact out there like that, we're like, that sounds like an old wives'
That's
tale.
hilarious.
It's more of an
there's-
opinion than an actual
Right.
fact.
Yeah, but if you say it with conviction, you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, well the double stuffed.
I can
those
only
are,
imagine that it's the most popular.
those outsell the regular Oreos 2.3 to 1. Yeah. No one's gonna argue with that. All right. So fellas, all right, who's going up? Nick, you're up. What's the appropriate balance in an Oreo?
I don't know what the appropriate is, but
No, your preference.
Preference.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the thins.
You do.
What?
Okay.
Here's why: because I feel like I can eat a lot more of them
But there's
and
no
feel less
frosting.
guilty.
yeah.
There's some.
It's just eating chocolate crackers.
What's wrong? What's wrong with the chocolate cracker?
It's fine. It's not an Oreo though.
I feel less guilt eating a
Okay.
whole sleeve of thins than
That's
I do
the wrong answer.
mega
Nick.
stuff.
That's
Okay.
the wrong answer.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you're going thins, which
I'm going
means
thins.
very little frosting.
Yeah.
All right. Ben, take it.
Okay, so can you take a mega stuffed Oreo, take one side off of it, another mega stuffed Oreo, take a side off of it, and put them together?
Ben is speaking my language.
Does that
See,
count? Does
Ooh.
I
that count
bought
as an Oreo?
The
I
double
bought
mega.
the mega, and everyone was giving me grief for it. They were like, the best is the double, and I was like, I will take the mega, and if there was a bigger one, I'd take that one. Ben and I are on the same page.
Okay, well, listen. If there was ever a moment to be on opposite sides of the room, this is the moment. I hold perhaps one of the most controversial Oreo standards here, and I'm going to say no frosting at all.
What?
At all.
What do you do with the frosting?
If they sold Oreos that didn't have the frosting, then I'm all about that.
So you don't like Oreos?
I love Oreos.
It seems like what you're saying.
I love Oreos. I love Oreos. However, I could do without the frosting. Okay.
So you don't take the frosting out. You eat it with the frosting. You would just prefer it without the frosting.
Yeah, it's all about preference.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit there with a butter knife and
No, but if I had some
Scrape the
Oreos and then
Yeah.
some chocolate graham crackers.
No, it's not even the same.
It's not the
even
same.
the same
It's a
ballpark.
different-
No,
yeah.
get out of here with that.
There's the residue and the flavor kind of gets
Yeah.
into the cookie.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's bewildering. I was really giving Nick grief for the thins.
For the thins?
Yeah.
If I had
Yeah.
only known.
Nope.
Yep.
I'm all about the Oreo without the frosting.
Well, if Matt and I hung out, he could just scrape that off and give
Onto
it to
your-
me.
Okay.
Onto your
All right.
Oreo.
Yeah.
So we'll literally,
Uh-huh.
I'll take the Oreo
good.
bit that I
Yep.
scraped the frosting
Yeah,
off.
because think about it. When you break apart an Oreo like that, and I often hope that all the frosting ends up on one cookie. I mean, and apparently you do too, so that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
double stack them.
Yep.
I hope it ends up on one cookie, one side, so that I can enjoy the cookie without the frosting.
This
actually-
is a bad
yeah.
take.
Yeah.
I actually do
What?
that. I
It's
just
a bad
realized.
take. It's about you like Oreos, but you don't like the thing that makes it an Oreo. It's.
Well, there's two
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
make it the Oreo. It's the
Yeah.
cookie and the frosting.
Exactly.
I think it's the frosting is more important than the cookie.
Okay. Well, look.
You know,
Friend.
to each their own.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. There's.
Listen, you can't
I don't
bring
mean
up
to insult your
You
take.
can't bring up a get to know you question and then make fun of me and give me a hard time for trying to get to know me, Paul. Come on.
I am getting no conclusive evidence on what's the most popular Oreo. It's usually just flavors ranked, but not the original double stuff, mega stuff. Those are not
All
in the
right.
rankings.
All right. So in
Right.
a light Google search, there's
At an
Can't
improper
find
time, I will insert into the conversation the answer as
that's
soon
perfect.
as I find
yeah.
it.
No, that's perfect. When we're getting real serious.
When you're getting real
Yeah.
serious, I'll just
Well,
let
here's
you know.
here's a psychological question then. So you mentioned, Matt, when you split them off, you're looking to enjoy this, and obviously I'm in the same boat. Then which one do you eat first?
Oh, the cookie without the frosting.
So you just
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you get your enjoyment up front
Yeah.
of your favorite, and then
Yeah.
you have to power through
Yep.
the
That's it.
frosted side of the
That's it.
cookie.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Paul, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for getting
Of
us
course.
started that way.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So fellas, Nick, Ben, when you guys are not eating Oreos, when you're not podcasting here in this room, what's taking up your time? Nick, we're kicking it off with you over here.
Yeah. So I work here. At
You
New
work
Heights.
here at
Yep.
New Heights.
Yeah. Part of the communications team.
Yes.
So I do various things. Lots of graphics, some video, some web.
Video production. And so
Yeah.
here's the fun thing. So Nick and I have worked on a number of video projects together over the years, and I mean like over the decades. But what's been your all-time favorite video project? I don't mean with me, but I mean just at New Heights or video project. Do you have one? Do you think you can pinpoint one?
I can't think of my favorite right now because there has been a lot. But in preparation for this, I was thinking of one that I actually did with Ben years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was in high school. Scott Paulson was the high school pastor at that time. And do you remember Carpet Man?
Yep. Oh, I thought that's what you were going to
So-
say.
Carpet what?
He was a superhero called Carpet Man.
Carpet Man.
So I don't know where
Okay.
we had these patches of carpet that
Okay.
we basically tied onto every part of his body.
Wait, Ben, you were Carpet
He was
Man.
Carpet Man.
Oh, okay.
By rubbing my feet across the floor, I generate a mild static charge, which I can use to take out enemies.
So he would literally rub himself together,
Yeah.
and then he'd go like this and just shock people.
Okay.
But his nemesis was Cellophane Boy. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think.
Cellophane
And
Man.
Stinky Twinkie, I think, was
Oh, Stinky
was one of them.
Twinkie. We had a Twinkie hat. I forgot it.
Oh, yeah, it was
Twinkie.
massive Twinkie hat.
Okay.
And so, the giant roll of cellophane. That was
Right.
his nemesis would wrap people up.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about that video is some interesting
How do we
things.
get access to this video? Please
I
tell
wish I
me
could
it's
find it.
archived somewhere.
It's probably on some hard drive somewhere.
All right.
I'll see if I
All
can
right,
find it this week.
Okay, yeah, please.
But we went to Geyser Middle School to film a scene.
Oh, no.
And part of what Cellophane Boy does, he's horrible for the environment, right? So he'd litter. And we got there, there's trash everywhere. Like someone had gone through the dumpsters and dumped everything in the parking lot. We're like, hey, this is great. This is perfect for our video. We film.
Okay.
A lady nearby, a neighbor, yells down at us and says, I'm calling the police and telling them what you did. And we drove away really fast.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
because she thought we were
because she
threw
thought
trash
you
everywhere.
guys were the ones who were
Yeah.
littering the school.
The man wrapped in cellophane looks a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't us. This trash was already here. We just happened to be walking by shooting a video
Yes,
with it.
exactly.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I would not have believed myself either.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
But here's what I want, because this video sounds pretty tacky. All right, it's
Yes.
and here's what I'd like, just on the New Heights Instagram account, just post it not as a reel, but like as an actual post with no explanation, just the Carpet Man video.
Yes.
No caption.
Yeah, versus the cellophane villain and whatever this video is that I've never
Stinky
seen.
Twinkie.
And,
Yeah.
Oh, and Stinky Twinkie.
he threw Twinkies at people.
Okay. Yeah, with no explanation. Just post it on. You're on our comms team, so
Okay,
go ahead, go ahead and do that.
I'll track it down. I'm going to halt all my other work and track down this video.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
and actually, please do not.
I will.
Please do not
Don't
post
worry.
it
Don't worry.
on our social. All right. Okay. So then Ben, when you're not eating Oreos, when you're not on the podcast studio, when you are not dressing up as Mr. Carpet. No, wait.
Carpet
Man.
Man.
Sorry, Carpet Man. What takes up your time during the day?
Well, I have my work. I actually own a small manufacturing company that makes parts for the music industry. So one of
Okay.
our larger product lines is for pipe organs.
Pipe organs. Okay. When you say music industry, everyone thinks, guitars or something, something slightly more common than a pipe organ.
Yes.
Okay. So a pipe organ, we're talking like the real deal, walk into an old school church and it's from floor to ceiling and it fills the entire wall.
Yes, often part of the structure of the building.
Yes.
Like if they're big enough. But yep. So, you see the keys in front of you. There's multiple sets of keys. You have these knobs on the front of the console. When you pull one out and you press one of these keys, there's a pipe that's supposed to play somewhere. Sometimes more than one pipe.
Okay.
And we just handle everything between those. So like the contact sensor from the keyboard that goes, up into the chamber and fires an output that will actually, pull a leather pouch down with a direct electric magnet and allow wind into the pipe to speak.
Okay.
So-
That's
And we even make the
already I'm
knobs.
confused.
Yeah, we even make the knobs and buttons and
I believe you, but I'm already. You just explained to me how a pipe organ works, and I still have no idea how a pipe organ works. So, but it's fascinating. I've been in a church before where they've just like gone to town on one of those things, and it just fills the room. Like it's deafening how loud one of those things can be.
One of my favorite things is the association that older people don't like loud music and older people love pipe organs. And a pipe organ is
Okay.
the loudest thing that you're ever going to hear.
Yes.
It's like a bagpipe, but lower pitched, I
Right.
guess. But
Right.
super loud.
Yeah, in
It's-
terms of a decibel level in a church,
Yeah.
I mean, a pipe organ I think could outdo any drum set, electric guitar worship team on
It's
stage.
piping.
Yep. Yeah.
well, that's you've heard of the term pull out all the stops.
Yes.
That's a pipe organ term.
Get out of town.
That's you pull all the stops out because it's the loudest. It's bring everything.
Okay,
leave
now-
nothing.
Wow.
Who knew that? Did
That's
you know
good to
that?
I did not know that.
Paul, did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Wow.
Pull out all the stops. Yeah. What else
That
would
makes
that mean?
total
Like,
sense.
I've never once stopped and thought, what does that expression mean? Where does that come from?
Right?
Buses. That's what I thought.
Well,
Pulling
I
all the
figured some
stops.
sort of stop sign. I don't know,
don't
but
know,
yeah, who would have? Okay.
Wow.
But it comes from the pipe organ industry.
It does.
All right. Because then when you pull out all the stops, then all the air.
All the pipes play.
Okay.
Well, not all.
You're giving
pipes.
it
You're not
everything
doing
you've got.
this, but-
That was me blowing air through the pipes.
You know? That's good.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Fascinating. All right. Well, maybe I'm sure there are podcasts out there all about pipe organs in
There
that
sure are.
industry. Yeah, of course there are. Of course. But this is not one of them. But Ben, thank you for taking time out of your work to be here, talk us through this particular weekend. So as I said, We're in the middle of this series called "Forming Friendships in a Lonely World," and this week in particular, we looked at a passage of scripture during the weekend, and we talked about what it looks like to have a friend who steps into your life, and when you feel like you're starting to stray away from the life that the Lord has in store for you, a friend that can bring you back in line with Him. So, what's unique about your guys' friendship is you guys have had this a part of your friendship for a number of years. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about that, because one of the things I'd like to do is hear a little bit of your story, and which would help all of us kind of get a snapshot, a picture of how could we incorporate this level of accountability or this level of honesty and openness within some of our friendships. So you guys, you've had this part of your friendship for a number of years. How long? When did that start?
It's been at least 13 years, more than that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, at least 13 years.
Okay, so
Longer.
Yeah, we'll call it over a decade.
Over a
then.
decade sounds good.
All
Yeah.
right. And then, so decade ago, you guys got together. How? I mean, you were already friends. You weren't friends.
Well, we knew of each other, having grown up at New Heights. Mm-hmm. We were, adjacent, but Nick was a little younger than me. So, and I knew his sister growing up was more in our class or just around that same time. But we hadn't hung out much just because of the age difference.
Yeah.
So, but I believe we first were, in close communications when he joined this group.
Yeah.
And the group had predated Nick, but it's hard to remember a time without him because he's made such a huge impact in my life. So.
Yeah. So we had a mutual friend who we had both had a relationship with, and I was going through some things in my life related to sexual purity and integrity. So I confided in this friend, and he said, "Hey, how about you come and join me and my other friend, and we talk. We'll talk through this and kind of be in a group together." So that's how we kind of started this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we kind of knew of each other, but not really in a deep level until that group started.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about inviting a friend into your life to speak the hard truth or to bring you back before the Lord, I mean, some of the things that we were talking about this weekend was a friend that could say the hard thing, or a friend that can correct you from sin, or a friend that can redirect you back to Jesus, or a friend that can support you spiritually, hold you accountable, ask you the hard questions. So all of that is baked into your guys' friendship, and when you meet. So my question is, how does so we hear how you guys started your friendship. You had a mutual friend who said, "Hey, we should all get together. We should talk through these areas of our life." Okay, someone doesn't have that mutual friend, and they're going to reach out to one of their friends and say, can you enter into this aspect of my life? What's your advice? What you guys have been doing this for over a decade. So how does someone get over that awkwardness of, wait, this requires great vulnerability and some self-disclosure. And that's kind of frightening for lots of us. So I'd just assume say, no thanks. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to someone like that?
Well, for sure, the risks are there when you put yourself out in any fashion, but the benefits are so much better, so much worthwhile in comparison with those risks. I couldn't imagine my life today if it without this relationship, without accountability. That I would say it's by far worth the risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think in terms of choosing, let's say I don't have that friend, I don't have a specific person that comes to mind of, hey, I already have this good relationship. I'd say look to someone that you respect and admire. Mm-hmm. I have a couple other people in my life who I've confided in over the years, and it was out of, hey, I respect this person. I admire the way they live. I admire the way they follow God. I'm going to confide in them, not even in the sense of like, hey, let's be best friends for the rest of our lives, but hey, I trust you and I need help, mm-hmm. So I think looking for someone that you respect and kind of hold at not like you're holding them up on a pedestal, but you just admire who they are. Yeah.
That's fantastic advice, you guys. And you highlighted a pretty key point there is to when you enter in, when you show up to that person, when you talk with them, you have that conversation, to say, I respect you and I need a little help.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't even want to admit we need help, right? I mean, isn't that often the case? Isn't that why most people are like, no, and as some sort of accountability relationship, no thanks, pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's been your experience as you have come to someone and said, I do need help?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things that we talked about this weekend was oftentimes someone could respond one of two ways. They could say, yeah, I knew that about you already.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could just say, oh, okay. And like, when we build it up in our head and think like, oh, this is going to like rock their world when they find out this challenge in my life. And really, it doesn't always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a ton of truth in that, and I've seen it. Speak for myself in my own life. Just different times I've confided in people, and I think there's this tendency to want to self-protect and
Mm-hmm.
put our best face forward, and not want to appear weak, which is its own sin inclination in its own way of not wanting to appear weak. But I think there's I think what you said in your talk was great, and it made me think of a third one. So you had said, they could say, oh, okay. They can say, yeah, I already knew that about you. I think they can also say, yeah, me too.
Okay. Yeah.
I struggle with that same thing, or I've struggled with that. I haven't wanted to tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that is even you coming forward and saying, hey, this is a spot of weakness. You may be helping someone else to be able to say, hey, that's a spot I struggle with too. Yeah.
Yeah, and prayer helps as well before you do that, to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where God can help lead you to the right person.
Yeah.
Because it does, it's scary letting yourself be vulnerable. So, and I think also with Nick, when he joined the group, it was always it wasn't looking for a group of people. You're looking for someone to confide in first. And sometimes that person, especially if you choose wisely, like Nick had mentioned, they may be the connection point to another person that they've already vetted for you, that may have more, fit the confidentiality piece or the experience piece, that situation.
Okay, so then, so when you guys get together, is this every week? Is it episodic? Is it occasional? Do you have a scheduled time? And when you do meet, do you have predetermined content or questions that you guys talk through? Oh, you both look at each other. Okay.
Go for it.
Well, it's a little bit of
taking it?
both.
Okay.
So what we don't have is an over formulaic set of questions like, hey, let's go through this checklist. But every time we meet, and it could be a function of how long we've been together, but there's at least one question that we ask, and it's basically, how has your week been? So we actually meet in a public place, to discuss what a lot of people would consider a confidential topic. And phrasing it that way, we all know, and it's a shift in the conversation for sure, because we start with a pattern of what's on the other person's life, what's going on in your life, and so we do a quick around, and sometimes the struggles can be they can come out in that aren't even related. In fact, accountability has been found in that group for food issues for me, or anxiety or other things that come up and are a problem. So I'll bring that up initially before this even hits.
Right.
But then by the time that question, somebody says they realize it's almost time, like we need to start hitting the hard part of this, and they'll say, how has your week been? Or here's how my week has been. And that's kind of the key question to start launching into the disclosures.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of kind of the schedule wise, we do meet. We try to do almost every week. Life happens, but I have it on my calendar of 8:30 every Monday morning. Right now it's Compass Coffee. It's moved around a little bit, but we like the good coffee. So so that's kind of where we're at. But it's something it's every single week. And then I'd also like to say as needed. You know, it's not, oh gosh, I'm having a tough night or a tough week. I'm going to wait till Monday and tell them about it. It's, hey, no, let's send a text right now. Let's reach out.
Okay, so the fact that you guys would send a text, I mean, just like any one of my friends, of course, I'll get together with a cup of coffee. Sometimes we'll grab a meal together, shoot a text, call occasionally, whatever. So, I mean, all of that is just a natural part of your guys' friendship.
Yeah.
All those different various communication methods.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, if you're meeting, if you guys have elected to say, no, every week we're going to meet at this time at this place in this location, I mean, on this day. And of course, I would imagine that the benefit of that is it does build a habit into your schedule. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's very important that it becomes a habit if it's going to survive as long as ours has. And not to say that you have to live and die by that habit, meaning we've changed venues, we've changed times, been flexible with that over time, but it's better to be inflexible in making sure you have a habit. It's better to, for me, I've been in a couple other groups like this, and it's this one I think is, everyone was very committed. So Nick's very committed to meet. I'm very committed to meet. So that's what's going to help it last a long time. But even if it's shifting from place to place, the fact that we all know that we need it, we need each other, that's what helps it stick around, I think. But,
Yeah.
All right. So then when you guys, when you are talking through and saying, here's how my week is going, or as you said, here's the 5 different areas that I could go astray. Here's the 5 different areas in my life where I feel like I need help recentering my life on the Lord. As you identify those or you're sharing those with one another, what, our natural inclination is always going to be to hide our sin, conceal our sin, don't let others in on that. So how in that environment, especially because when I hear you say you're in a coffee shop, like how do you know, I mean, how do you help one another continue to be open, honest, you're telling the truth? Because it still, even in that environment, your inclination could be, no, I'm not going to fully disclose here.
Yeah, I think some of that does come with time, which is not maybe the most helpful answer. But there's a piece of we have this inclination of I'm going to minimize, I'm going to deny, not just to someone else, but even to myself of okay, where I'm actually at, how am I actually doing? But it's one of those things. If you take that over a period of time, you follow the trajectory of if I'm just going to minimize and deny, where is that going to lead me? Versus, no, I'm going to be honest about this, even though it's hard. Okay, where is that going to lead? I'd rather go down that path. But I think there's a piece of saying, all right, I think what Ben said was great. Knowing I need this and getting to a place of saying, look, I'm broken, I'm weak, I can't do this on my own. And so even getting to that point is very hard. And in acknowledging, like, sometimes, it is inconvenient. I love Ben, I love meeting with him. At times, though, it's like, man, I'd rather spend a little bit more time at home, right, before going to work.
Right.
But understanding, like, no, this is what I need for my own health, for my relationship with God, for my relationship with others. And so with that then also comes a piece of I need to try and be as open and vulnerable as I can, because if I'm not, what am I doing this for? I'm just hurting myself, I'm hurting others. I think I went a little bit off question there.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So do you guys, you probably know each other well enough now that if someone is not being fully honest, you're not being truthful, can you call each other on it?
Yeah.
Can you dig a little deeper and be like, really?
Yeah, we actually have a phrase a question set that we've come up with for that. And so even when you've gotten past this point of comfort with somebody and you feel fairly, close to them, and you've been able to share information with them that very few, if anybody else knows.
Yeah, and open and honest.
Yeah,
sure, all that.
Even after that, at least for me, there's still an element where I'm like, okay, but I don't want him to know this new thing. Like, I still find ways to get myself into a situation that I shouldn't be in, and it's a new situation of sorts or of some kind. and you're still hit with this question of, do I bring this up or not? It's ironic because there's so few things Nick doesn't know about me, that why would I even care, right? Well, it still happens. So we have this question set where I think it's just blunt and super easy to, I don't know which one of us asked it first, but it's, are you straight up lying to me right now? Like, are you is there anything you haven't shared with me in this? And like you said, a sense of that. Like there's definitely this sense, it's almost like an over cordial or disconnect distraction sense in the voice, like at least for me, where I'm like, okay, I should ask about it. And sometimes it's just time. You know what? It's been like 3-4 months since I've asked that question. I should probably ask that question. That's how we do it, because I know I need that question. I need it to be asked. So I also ask as a courtesy, say, does it releases them and me from that, Yeah.
Okay, so when you guys are engaging, when you are talking through all these various topics in your life, are there ever passages in the Bible, verses that stand out to you that are a source of encouragement to one of you, each of you, any of you, or passages you constantly come back to or that you share? Any that are top of mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that comes to mind. Partially, I had a good friend text it to me just the other day, but as 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10, which is my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I boast all more about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. And I think just that's just a great reminder for sometimes overcoming that, the starting point, right? Of like, how do I even talk to anyone about my weaknesses? And to be reminded of, okay, it's not about how strong we are. It's not about how strong we look. And I think there's a piece of, like that's really powerful to me. That verse is helpful. I think there's also a piece of, I think another one of my sin inclinations is just needing people's approval, right? Like I want to be approved of. I want to be accepted, which is the one thing that's going to make me not want to tell anyone about my weaknesses. And I think being reminded of just a phrase that I remember, and I'm trying to say it to my son right now as much as I can, is that you are fully known and fully loved by God. And I think when we understand that, it stops me from trying to be fully known by other people. Not that that's bad, but when I look to other people, hey, you need to fully know me and you need to fully love me. That's not fair for other people to put that on them. So when we remember God knows me fully and he loves me fully, so therefore I can talk about my weaknesses with other people because I'm not dependent on them, which is, it sounds great. I don't do it well, but it's like, that's part of, I think sometimes what holds people back is, man, if they really knew me, they wouldn't love me. Like if they knew this about me, and that's not always true. And also it's not about that, but I don't know. That comes to mind.
Yeah. And the crazy part is though, that we're all there.
Yeah.
I mean, culturally, no one wants to admit weakness.
Right.
I mean, and we all want to act like we have it together and pick a category as a parent, as a spouse, as a professional, in your finances, in like pick any area of life. And it's like we don't want to admit weakness. But then you remind us of this passage where the Apostle Paul is saying, this is what I heard from the Lord, that the Lord's power is made strong in our weakness. Yeah. So it's a matter of all of us admitting, like, yeah, I don't have it together, and here's where I feel weak in these different areas of life. Sure.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that God has such immense power and capability, yet he chooses to work through people, as one of his main, at least in my experience, his main function of providing help or guidance or whatever you name it, and that's why it seems that if we're going to fully be known by God, one of the portions of that is being known by somebody else here, because he already does know. I mean, everyone knows he knows, but it's different when God has skin on. I think Matt Hannon said that in one of his messages, but it's different when you can experience God's knowing of you through another person. You know?
Sure. So then, so just a couple final thoughts here and final questions for you. When you, for individuals who are hearing your story, hearing about your guys' friendship, and again, they're just like, I don't know if I have what it takes to be that vulnerable. I don't know if I have what it takes to engage a friend that way. What advice, what counsel would you give them? They're both looking at each other.
I was going to say something that Ben's said a couple times now, which is just prayer. I think starting with prayer. It's you said a couple weeks ago in a different context, but talk to him before you talk to them.
Right.
And I think it's talk to him, God, before you talk to another person. I think that's just as applicable here of saying, God, like Ben was saying, we're designed for relationships, and so God has someone in mind. God has and the way God works sometimes is it's incredible. We can't understand how he works. And so I think just coming to God, and even just with starting with, God, I am weak in this area. I need help. Show me who that person is. And then looking for that, and being open to whoever God might provide. And yeah, I think that's kind of my first thought.
And I think I've already said this, but the positives it will bring to you are so much more valuable than the bad experience. I had a bad experience with, because I've done this a few different times. And for sure, what I'd say is don't push that either. That was what happened with me. Are
you talking about with a bad experience?
Yeah, with a bad experience.
Can you share some of that? Can you share what happened there?
Sure. I mean, this hopefully to dispel the we get, especially for me, like the worst case scenario, it's just very unlikely to occur. I mean, the world doesn't end when you have a bad experience like this, although it feels beforehand like it will end. But.
Okay, so what happened? If you can tell us.
Okay, sure,
What was the bad experience?
So I was in another group, and so I used to do a lot of small groups here at New Heights for Navigate, and we were in one group. I was very familiar with all the people, but I had not been in a group function with them in this capacity. So it's the standard, a whole group of couples, all couples with small kids.
Okay.
And then we would split off into men and women for prayer requests and ask, and that was my typical, okay, this is where we ask for help about this thing.
This is where we get real.
This is where we get real.
This is where we're honest with one
exactly.
another.
This is where we're honest with one another. And so we go around the circle, and each person is stating their prayer requests. They were all fairly surface level. There wasn't anything super, Again, it's being as vulnerable enough to check it off the list.
Right.
Is how I liken that. And so I come and I drop this bomb in the middle of this conversation. It was literally 2-3 people, and then I'm like, oh, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, and sometimes I feel lucky to even have any success at all in this situation. And then,
where you're basically saying, this is me, fully
this
exposed.
is me.
Here you are. Just drop that in the middle.
Yep.
And then what?
Silence. Crickets.
No.
Yep. Yeah. So it was a good, in that scenario, 15 seconds feels like an eternity.
Right.
And so it's super, but really what did it cost me at the end of the day? I felt incredibly awkward. I probably made their day incredibly awkward as well. So for what it's worth.
They're like, who invited Ben to this small group?
Yeah, I don't know, Ben. You have a lot of problems. But what did that really cost me in an experience? So I didn't. Every time it's not successful, but if I hadn't done that,
in that moment, Ben, what were you hoping to see happen?
So I've done that before, and this is where that was a learning experience for me, because I've done this thing where I'm like, okay, no one's wanting to go first.
Okay,
so I'll just jump.
So just to be clear, so you were in this group, and again, that's not speaking ill of anyone who's in this group.
Oh no, no.
But it was but you're saying this feels a little too surface level-y, and I'm wondering, should this group kind of go a little deeper, take the next level, be real, be open, be honest with one another. So I want to model that, and if I model that, then I'll lead the way, and these guys can follow.
Right.
So you model it, and then crickets.
Yep. And I didn't pray beforehand as well. I didn't ask God. It just felt natural. I had done it
Okay.
before. I'd prayed before in other circumstances, and it paid off other times. This time it had not. But this same thing could happen with one person. I mean,
Right.
this is
Of course.
this is a lot of the risk I hear from other people. Why aren't you in accountability? Well, because I don't want them to judge me. What if they have nothing to say and they're like, "You're weird. Like you don't." You know, I don't have problems like that. To which I'd also say everyone has problems like that. I
Right.
mean, whatever that is.
right.
You know, sin is sin in front of the Lord. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend, if it's your first one, start with one person. Don't jump into the middle of a group, even if you're fairly comfortable with those people. Pick one of those people.
That's good advice.
Meet them for
You bet.
coffee.
You bet.
You know, pick safer people. I should have been a lot more guarded. I had gotten a little too comfortable with this idea. And again, it's still I'm fairly outgoing. I don't mind that much if what people think about me as a general rule. But even then, I still have limits to that.
Right.
You know, but I'd say especially if you're more cautious and guarded, you're not used to it. Start small.
That's great.
That's good. Oh, you guys, that's really good advice, and from two guys who've been, like I said, living this out for the past decade, and it sounds like ups and downs. You guys have experienced this in a healthy environment, and then Ben, thanks for sharing. A few moments it just felt like a little bit of a miss for you as well. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I so appreciate you guys sharing that passage. Nick, thanks for sharing that verse with us, and thanks for sharing your guys' story on how you've engaged in this part of your friendship. Really grateful for both of you guys and your vulnerability here. So, and Paul Heath, you
need the verdict
we
on the Oreos?
No, I had almost all but forgotten about the Oreos, but sure, as long as you bring up the Oreos.
So the most popular is by far original,
Okay.
Okay.
which I kind of like was excluding that. You know, it was like, yeah, duh,
Okay,
the original
this is
gonna
not
be-
surprising.
It's more
All right.
between the double stuffed and the mega stuffed. The double stuffed is more popular, followed by the
Okay.
thins, Nick.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay,
Thins-
thins are even more
thins for the
popular than
win.
the mega stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
More popular than the
Okay.
mega stuff.
Okay, well, Paul, thanks for that. All right,
welcome.
thanks for wrapping us up that way. And friends who are joining us online, listening in, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you joining us on Beyond the Weekend. And Nick and Ben, grateful for you guys sharing your story here. Okay? God bless you guys.
Thanks, Matt.
So long.